The Arcane Blu-ray comes with 5 exclusive breakdowns of episodes, characters, and scenes. There are some major information revealed here, so if you couldn't get the Blu-ray, I'm here to tell you all about it. I will put the unboxing and review at the end of the video, or you can skip to it in the video chapter below, but let's get right into it. The Arcane Blu-ray comes with 5 breakdowns: Making Mel, Episode 4 breakdown, Episode 6 breakdown, Ekko vs Jinx, and the Tea Party breakdown. Starting off with the making of Mel, this is where we get the biggest piece of information. Mel initially came into creation as just an ordinary member of the council, and she wasn't intended to be that important. Her core character design was, quote, the woman with the golden tattoos. That's right, those gold things on her are tattoos, more on that later. But as the writing team saw her design and fell in love, they incorporated her heavily into now one of the main cast. One of her inspirations is Shuri from Black Panther, and yeah, that checks out. Mel's also always presented with her chin super tilted upwards like she's looking down on everyone, and that's why she's the ultimate queen of topside. Fortiche never uses mocap in order to make the animation feel magical, but they do act out scenes themselves as reference. The animator doing Mel scenes was too rigid when trying to portray a woman, so he asked his girlfriend to stand in, which is pretty cute. As for her character, Mel was intended to feel like an immigrant. Piltover is actually this melting pot in Runeterra, with its progressive values drawing people of all shapes and sizes, which includes our beautiful Medarda princess from Noxus. Her gold tattoos actually represent everything Noxian about her, but that seems contradictory since gold is representative of Piltover, right? I'm in the camp where her gold tattoos have some magic property about them, so maybe that's why they symbolize Noxus. Also, Mel's family used to be traders with the Shuriman Desert civilization, which also have a heavy influence of gold in their designs, so that might explain the color choice. A lot of people say that her character design being tattoos might have been changed and she is actually wearing an artifact or armor because it shines. That's not good reasoning. I think that there's still tattoos because her original design concept of golden tattoos already implies that the design team want to have them shine. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that inside the fantasy world of Arcane that gold shiny tattoos are possible, especially if she channels magic through them. If they were actual gold, then it doesn't make sense how they bend with her skin. Otherwise, she would be clanking around whenever she walks, which might actually be a turn on for Jace, reminding him of the Forge. But yeah, overall Mel exudes this golden energy as she's the richest person in Piltover and embodies the entire noble cast. The gold specks under her eyes are intended to shout and demand for your attention of her presence. Then, right before they finalized her design, they decided to add a splash of some golden freckles to capture her magical aura, which really cemented her design in my eyes. No one talks about the golden freckles, they are so amazing, and no wonder Arcane released the makeup line where you can literally get them for yourself. But because her gold tattoos show her Noxus side, she hides them away with her white dress. That part of her culture is not important in Piltover, which makes sense why the tattoos are placed behind her. But as the richest person in Piltover, she also has multiple dresses to feel extravagant. She has the white one, the crisscross fancy opera dress, and her black Noxian dress that exposes her back that she wears when meeting her mother. Life is rough out here for all the other plebeians like Jinx, who wears one outfit for a season and a half. Someone in my Discord joked that it's because Jinx stapled her pants onto herself and can't take them off anymore, which is pretty sad. As for Mel's character in the narrative, she takes advantage of her Noxian pragmatist side by playing chess when all the other counselors are playing Connect 4. She manipulates Jace, but that line soon becomes blurry as she falls for him, able to be more vulnerable in his presence. This is really funny as Mel always trauma dumps onto him at the most random of times because she can't talk about it with anyone else. You also feel the presence of her mother within everything she does, like the weight of expectations drive her to become a certain image. But that all gets shattered in episode 9 when Mel truly lets the emotions control her, and then Bessa remarks that she taught her to be better than that. Mel's journey has been about rejecting that Nox inside of her, and that eventually comes in fruition at the end to her downfall. Amanda Overton says how when portraying Mel, she keeps her underlying intention well hidden behind layers of steel, but when writing her, the goal is to push her to the limit and break apart, revealing herself more and more. That is represented by Bessa, whose very design is also a contrast to aristocracy and wealth, almost like her presence is cleaving through the straight uptightness of Piltover. As we all know within our families, we tend to regress a little as our walls always have weaknesses. Same for Mel, who shows her true colors when interacting with her mother. But when breaking down, the writers always intend to show Mel with still having strength, not being weak. She talks faster, puts less thought in her words, and in her mind she is still obsessed with the princess that her mother killed all those years ago. And hence, upon meeting her again, she remembers what Noxian pride can cause people to do and does not want to perpetuate violence in Zaun. A big part of Mel's conflict has been the clashing parts of her culture. You guys are so lucky that I exist because I actually talked about everything they said about her conflict inside my contradictions video. way before when the Blu-rays were even being shipped, so watch that for more mel. But that's everything in the first breakdown. The next one is about episode 4, Happy Progress Day. It starts off with Piltover's festival promising to deliver the future with a neat little exhibition. The biggest booth is the one glazing Jace's hex tech that he completed last year. The hex gate itself is intended to be presented like the Eiffel Tower, never to be destroyed as a symbol and beacon. But we see how the new spotlight on Jace's success made him more ambitious and arrogant. It's nice how Arcane can balance Jace by making him feel more powerful, but he still stays grounded and likable to some extent. Next, the animation director talks about Jason Victor's lab, where it's designed to look like a bunker for dangerous experiments. The room is split into two, one side for Victor where everything is neat, and Jace's side which is messier, showcasing their personalities. It also shows their cultures, with Victor's side being gothic while Jace is bright. The tone of the lab is to test fast, fail fast, and do progress fast. There is a really artificial cold light that illuminates the room, with a special emphasis on it feeling artificial, being a recognizable lighting for this certain atmosphere. What they designed is supposed to feel fake, as possible directions they can take technology. We also get a sense how time is distorted in this room, how there are different tempos for Jace and Victor as the two operate on extremely different timescales. Also, the Hex Gem is the only perfect sphere in the entire show to feel magical, mystique, and out of this world. Now we get a look into the Undercity. Before, the mob felt reserved because it was being restricted by Vander. Now, under Silco, he just lets them loose, and it really feels like there's so much more freedom and they can do anything. The Undercity is supposed to give Las Vegas vibes, which is really funny since Savika's new arm after the Chomper one has a slot machine. There are also weird cults that popped up, which is what the scene is, and everything feels corrupt but exciting. The last drop becomes this raving nightclub that is the best place to party in the city. Even young Pilties venture here to get some freedom, and Violator starts coming. Zon starts having its own identity again, even though there's a lot of pollution from the industrialization. But the rich people buy clean air Lorax style, like this one guy breathing in cherry flavored air. There are also air canisters and elevators, and the theme of the rich people breathing clean air will be explored more in season 2. The rich Zonites also buy small trees for air purification, so there's this constant theme of breathing well. I might make an analysis about that, we'll see. But now that the last drop is super loud, Silco being an introvert hates it, but maintains it to give some fun to his troops. Now for Silco's room, the writers wanted a totem object that can represent Silco. What we got in the end is his chair and his eye poker. As for his medicine, it's a form of shimmer, and it shows that even Silco is addicted to it, needing to pierce himself every day. I talked about how it represents how he clings onto his vision for Zon to keep him going. In the past, he drew from his wrath and pride, but later it starts drawing from Jinx. Next, we see Jinx's base hidden away from the city. The story behind this was that she found an abandoned hot air balloon engine and turned into a theme park and a lab where all her memories are stashed away. They wanted to give Jinx an evil genius vibe, contrasting with the other genius engineers we see throughout the story and how she corrupts other people's inventions like Hex Tech and the butterflies. But other than that, that's it for this one. Next is episode 6 breakdown. This one will be fast. It starts off with the two sides of the city and what they mean to Victor, talking to Singed in the past and Heimerdinger in the present. When Singed talks, they made a note to make him talk with his jaw moving sideways as a gimmick. Now for Heimerdinger as a magical Yordle, his movements have a touch of fantasy within them. Later in the scene of him getting ousted from the council, it starts with Heimerdinger at the center of the frame. But when Jace interrupts him, it starts showing Jace off-center on the side. But as the scene plays out and Jace's influence eclipses Hummerpuffer, it starts panning over and places Jace at the center and Humphrey Donger all the way on the side. The Fortiche team said how they don't like doing council scenes because it's visually boring with a bunch of cringe people talking. Even though a lot of narrative importance is given to their decisions, so they add an extra flair to engrave it with more depth. The Fortiche team also mentioned how they reuse camera angles in certain scenes, like Caitlyn treating Vi so they can save money, and how camera shots lag when they follow people to make it look live action. Also, when designing faces, they manually add in wrinkles on their designs to both be expressive and flawed. As for the walls come tumbling down sequence, it turns out Christian Link loves Woodkid and begged to get him on. Well, it turns out the animation director knew Woodkid from college and called him up, to which he seemed really interested in the project, and we got the masterpiece that we got. Each act is a trilogy with its climax at the finale, and episode 6's climax is when Vi and Jinx reunite, to contrast with them splitting in act 1. When the fight scene breaks out against the firelights, the camera shots become more fast and dynamic, wanting to abandon the live action feel for more engagement. There are stylized movements unlike the rest of the episode. They have Jinx moving super quick and the flying firelights, and they took a lot of inspiration from Eastern media like anime for the choreography. They have speedline, smear frame, and Jinx has multiple arms in this one frame to show how fast she's moving. They are very excited to show us season 2 since they knew they can do better with these these things, then we are going to be in for a wild ride. Now we have episode 7's Ekko vs Jinx fight scene. It starts off with Jinx acting high and mighty like she's above Ekko, giving him a chance by playing his game. Ekko gives the challenge and responds with the Silence's golden strategy as he just lets his aura speak for itself. In the past, Ekko would lose against Powder every time, but he uses the mistakes of the past to figure out her shots and beats her. Ekko's philosophy is embodied here, trying to always fix the past. I want to know how during the breakdown, Reed Shannon, Ekko's VA, is so fun and his energy is great. During the battle, it feels like neither of them want it, and they still see each other as children. The four teachers explain that when you're with your childhood friend, you always find a good memory deep down. Memories stay with you forever, and the bonds you once had are always cherished. Trauma can revert people back to their child self too. When Ekko wins out, he sees the powder within Jinx and hesitates. Jinx sees it too, but inside she still doesn't want to lose, so she takes them both down. Amanda wrote this sequence by telling a story, then seeing how much dialogue you can take out, letting only the action speak. And hence why this one clip explains Ekko and Jinx's entire past and current dynamics. After the time skip, they purposefully hid Ekko so that with his reveal and interaction with Jinx, we can basically assume everything that's happened between them. Amanda reveals how the start of the episode was actually going to be a Jinx and Ekko flashback, how Ekko thought Silco took Powder as a prisoner and Ekko began starting the Firelights by picking up newly orphaned children. He wanted a good way to get close to Silco, so he began growing his influence and reach within Zon. Eventually, he finds Powder, but she says no and she wants to stay with Silco. Then Ekko grabs her physically and tries taking her, and Powder slaps him, saying how there is only Jinx, a reversal of the Vi scene actually. Amanda cries how this scene was beautiful and everyone loved it, but it retraces ground during the fight scene. I completely agree, as we all probably headcanon this exact scenario when watching Ekko vs Jinx, especially when she called him the boy's savior. I still can't get over how amazing Arcane storytelling is. As for filming this scene, for teachers used clips of martial artists and gymnasts to recreate Ekko's flips. They also filmed the shots IRL during COVID lockdown, and one of the animators had to go outside wearing a colander, and people thought they were going insane. The fight scene is also intended to showcase something new about Ekko and Jinx, how Powder has changed and tries to deny her past, and Ekko always finding positivity in negativity. They also want to point out that Ekko is intentionally being portrayed as a hypocrite, as earlier in the episode he says Powder is gone, but he still sees her here. Ekko was always meant to feel powerful, to be assertive even within a scene where a bunch of natural leaders clash. But when Ekko speaks up, everyone feels his weight, but his intentions always draw from the good inside. Fortiche tells this whole story through a simple action scene that also looks amazing, and they admit how they think the sequence is their best work. I also want to note how with the quality of the Blu-ray, I noticed how Ekko's actually punching Jinx while holding the stopwatch. I wonder what the symbolism in that means. Lastly, we got the Tea Party breakdown. It's supposed to be a walk through memory lane being within the destroyed factory with memorandums of every person in Jinx's life. It starts with the Valdiani we see in Jace's workshop, and the tea party is lined with seats. The bunny is Vi, we know about Milo and Clagger, and somehow I did not notice that there is actually a seat for Vander with the gloves and pipe. Jinx teases Vi when killing Caitlyn and shows her a hex gem inside of a cupcake. Okay, did Jinx ever hear Vi calling her a cupcake? I doubt it, but it makes sense as a cupcake was also during the Jace heist, so double meaning there. So Jinx brings out Silco and asks Vi which chair she should sit in. Jinx chair next to Silco or Powder chair next to Vander's and Vi. Nice to see that in her heart she still loves Vander like she does with Silco. But the factory is meant to be a mausoleum of Jinx's past, especially when she technically killed both her fathers here. Some camera shots have blurry foreground and clear background and vice versa, to show depth and focus like in live action again. And the animator stated how Jinx's chair is meant to look like a throne. Not too much else for this episode that we don't know. Fortiche talks about how they want to stand out in the animation sphere, layering 2D onto 3D, and how every frame when paused can be a framed painting. They want their worlds to be dirty with spit and sweat, which is very uncommon to be shown in other media. At first, Arcane episode 9 was intended to happen in episode 7, with the first act of season 2 intending to wrap up the series, but I'm so glad we got so much more meat. They talk about how everyone on the team evolved and how season 2 will surely be better, and I cannot wait. That's the end of me talking about the breakdown, so if you want to see my Blu-ray unboxing and review, then here you go. Alright, so I'm going to be recording over this segment. Originally, I had my own recording here, but I think I'm just going to scrap it and summarize everything a lot faster. So, some parts of this are going to be blurred because my reflection was showing on the screen, and I can't do that just yet. Do want to note that, sorry that this video took like a month to come out. The Blu-ray shipped like a month ago. I originally canceled my order and then I bought it again because I was going to buy the collector's edition because I thought it was limited edition, but no, it wasn't. So I scrapped it and just got settled for the 4K edition instead. But by the time I replaced my order, Amazon delayed my order a little bit, so I think I got shipped on October 11th. And then when I received it, I didn't know you needed a Blu-ray player to play a Blu-ray. I thought you could just use a normal disc, so I had to wait like another week for my Blu-ray player to arrive, and then that kept on getting delayed. So I canceled and bought another one, which luckily arrived the next day, and I watched it, and I had to spend a week taking notes, and I eventually made this video. I do want to say that if you do have a Blu-ray player, this is so worth it. Well, especially for people who have pirated Arcane before, the quality isn't that good. The detail that you can see, and especially with the lighting, there are a lot of darker scenes, especially that with episode 7, that it's hard to make out everything that's going on. But with the Blu-ray and the 4K edition, everything is just so nice to look at. And if you are an Arcane fan, you are going to get so much out of this. It's just a really nice experience. I would highly recommend. I tested with a magnet. The cover is made out of steel, and it's Jinx's tattoo design. The inside spread has a picture of Jinx fighting the firelights, and each of the discs just have like a random shot taken from Act 1, 2, 3. Overall, you can see me struggling to try to get this box open with gloves on, and I was like trying really hard to like take the discs out gently to be gentle with them. But yeah, buy the Blu-ray if you're an Arcane fan and you have a Blu-ray player. Really good, really high quality, and dude, it's just the amount of aura you just get. Imagine you're hanging out with your friends and they're like, what should we do? And you just have a Blu-ray player and the Arcane Blu-ray disc, and you're like, we got a good night going on. So yeah, buy the Blu-ray, it's pretty good. I recommend. It's Malphone A approved. And yeah, that's gonna be all for me. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll catch you guys in the next one.